We all know Darkstalker, the mind-reading, future-seeing animus. He's very, very powerful, and he's one of the most well-known dragons in Pyria. Most consider him to be a villain, but are they right? Some consider his actions to be justified, while others consider his actions to be unacceptable. Here's my opinion on the entire thing. This video contains spoilers for pretty much the entirety of Arc 2, The Brightest Night, Darkstalker Legends, so if you haven't read the entire Wings of Fire series, I'd recommend you turn back now, unless you don't really care about spoilers. Anyway, moving on. The Nightwings Fear Darkstalker. A lot. Darkstalker is first mentioned in The Brightest Night. In The Brightest Night, Sunny is kidnapped by Nightwings, but she escapes. Sunny leaves a threatening message for the Nightwings and steals the obsidian mirror. Strongwings thinks it's the Darkstalker, and he seems terrified. On page 30, we get this. "No, he's real," Strongwings said, edging towards hysteria. "Everyone knows he's out there somewhere, and now he's found us. Look at this message. We're going to die." Strongwings is a large and, well, strong dragon, and is not easily scared. He knows a lot from the stories he has heard, and it's been 2,000 years. They still remember him after all this time. He has clearly left quite an impact. In the next book, Moon Rising, Darkstalker appears again. This time, he's a voice in Moonwatcher's head. On page 153, Darkstalker claims that the legends have exaggerated his wickedness. "Wow," Darkstalker whispered in her head. "I seem to have gotten a whole lot scarier in the last 2,000 years. "You must have been pretty scary to begin with," Moon observed, "if your whole tribe moved to hide from you, even after you'd been defeated." Moon has a good point. He'd been defeated, and everyone hid, fearing what he would do if he ever came back. Later on that page, it says that Mighty Claws was not faking his fear of Darkstalker. He genuinely fears him more than anything else. Now the question is, who's right? Was Darkstalker's legend exaggerated, or was it all true? Darkstalker has a book all of his own, so let's check that out next. Darkstalker's first choice was a selfish one. His first ever option that he ever had was the option to share his power with his sister, but he chose not to. On page 17 of Darkstalker Legends, we get this. "Sorry, little sister," he thought, not in so many words, but with visions of his future cascading through his mind. "This is my mother. Those are my moons. This is my world now." He didn't want his sister to have any of his power or any of the benefits that would come with it. He didn't even want his mother to love his sister. He wanted the whole world to himself, and he knew that sharing his power with his sister would make Fosslayer love her more, yet he chose to keep all that love for himself. I will admit, Darkstalker does show care for his sister from time to time. For example, Fosslayer and Arctic are fighting, and Whiteout has to pretend she can't hear them. When Darkstalker arrives, he tells Fosslayer to apologize to Whiteout after she apologized to him. On page 51, we get this. "I'm sorry," Fosslayer thought at him. "Say it to her," Darkstalker said. Darkstalker doesn't want his parents to fight in front of Whiteout, so he has some care for his sister. However, he still doesn't want her to have what he believes to be his. Darkstalker can also be manipulative and a jerk at the exact same time. He uses his father's actions against him. He uses his mind-reading powers to tell his father that he is evil. On page 149, Arctic and Darkstalker have this conversation. "Have you not heard a word I've said," growled Arctic, "about the dangers of using animus magic frivolously?" "I didn't need to hear it," said Darkstalker. "I can see it in every rotting spot on your soul, but you don't have to worry about me. I'll never be anything like you." Darkstalker says this in front of Clearsight, and even she is shocked by these cruel words. Darkstalker has no problem being disrespectful, and he does it in front of Clearsight with no issue. Arctic may be a jerk, but he didn't deserve such hateful words with so little provocation. Darkstalker also enchants his scales to be invincible, if you remember. Shortly after doing this, on page 215, he has this thought. "If I can enchant my entire body like that, what could I do to other dragons?" He doesn't seem to mind the thought of changing others without their consent, and he does do this later in the book. On page 254, Darkstalker gets a horrifying idea, and he seems to like the plan. Let's see. Clearsight warned me that killing Queen Diamond at this point could lead to the destruction of the entire Nightwing tribe, but what if we got them first? Imagine if I could take a stick, any ordinary stick, and say, "I enchant this stick so that the moment I break it, every Icewing in Pyria will keel over, dead." He doesn't seem to mind doing this, and this is clearly a morally wrong decision, but he is willing to do it. Maybe he is a little more evil than we thought. He never actually went through with it, but the fact that he was willing to do this reveals a lot about his character. Now, for the moment we've all been dreading, Arctic's murder. On page 333, Darkstalker has already enchanted Arctic to obey his every command, and here's where he tells his father to kill himself. Now, Darkstalker leaned toward Arctic, his claws gouging into the wood of the stage. Take your talons, rip open your stomach, and show us what you're really like on the inside. Pour out your life on this stage. Arctic has no choice but to obey, and he disembowels himself in front of the entire tribe. A painful and humiliating death. However, Darkstalker does feel at least some shred of remorse. He feels a little bit guilty for what he made Arctic do. Darkstalker is evil, but he feels small amounts of guilt and remorse for the evil things he does. There are still a few grains of black sand in the hourglass, despite the mountain of white. His actions are inexcusable, but I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't think he's completely evil. As Fathom said, there's really no such thing as bad guys. There are dragons who do bad things, but that doesn't make them all bad. Maybe they can also do good things. All I really have to say is, Darkstalker is evil, but he is capable of some good. He is almost all evil, but he has a sliver of good left inside him. Just like everyone, he can still be good. I'm not trying to justify his actions, but he isn't completely bad. I feel like Darkstalker turning into Peacemaker was the best thing they could have done, and I feel like that was the right decision. The most humane thing to do was turning Darkstalker into Peacemaker, and yeah, I feel like that was the happiest ending they could have gotten. Anyway, thanks for watching. This took a while to make, and thank you all for watching. Goodbye.